Tape number 1, Side B, Lesson 6, A Very Busy Wednesday.
Listen to what Nancy Green did last Wednesday.
Nancy didn't go to the office last Wednesday morning because she had to take a business trip. She wanted to attend a fashion show at the Hilton Hotel in Boston. Boston is about 300 miles from New York, and it takes about 5 hours to drive there. Nancy decided not to go by car because she wanted to get back to New York on the same day. She went by plane. She drove from her home on Long Island to Kennedy Airport and got a plane leaving at 10 o'clock. The flight lasted 45 minutes, so she arrived in Boston at 10:45. Nancy hired a car at the airport and drove downtown to the Hilton. The fashion show started at 11:30 and lasted for 1 hour. The dress designs were original, and Nancy liked them very much. She took notes and made sketches in her notebook. There were reporters from other magazines at the hotel, and some of them were friends of Nancy's. Nancy had lunch with them after the show, and of course they talked about fashions. Nancy got back to New York at 4 o'clock on the same day and went to her office. She told Frank Howard, the editor, about the fashion show and started to write an article. Later that evening, she had a date with her fiancé, Bill Crawford. As you can see, Wednesday was a very busy day for Nancy.
Now, answer these questions. Why didn't Nancy go to the office?
Because she had to take a business trip.
What did she want to attend?
She wanted to attend a fashion show.
Was it in New York or Boston?
It was in Boston.
How did she decide to go?
She decided to go by plane.
Why did she decide to go by plane?
Because she wanted to get back to New York on the same day.
Did Nancy take a taxi at Boston Airport, or did she hire a car?
She hired a car.
Then where did she drive?
She drove to the Hilton Hotel.
The dress designs were original, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Didn't Nancy like them very much?
Yes, she did.
What were the dress designs like?
They were original.
How did Nancy like them?
She liked them very much.
She didn't make sketches, did she?
Yes, she did.
What did Nancy do when she got back to New York?
She went to her office.
Did she meet Frank Howard, the editor?
Yes, she did.
What did she tell Frank about?
She told him about the fashion show.
Then what did she start to write?
She started to write an article.
Now, imagine you are Frank Howard and ask Nancy some questions. Ask her which hotel the fashion show was in.
Which hotel was the fashion show in?
Ask her how long it takes to drive to Boston.
How long does it take to drive to Boston?
Ask her about how far Boston is from New York.
About how far is Boston from New York?
Ask her why she decided not to go by car.
Why did you decide not to go by car?
Ask her how long the flight lasted.
How long did the flight last?
End of Lesson 6. Lesson 7. Getting home late.
Listen to the narrative about Nancy Green.
As you know, Nancy went to Boston last Wednesday, and in the evening she had a date with her fiancé, Bill Crawford. They went to a concert at Lincoln Center, and after that they had dinner at a restaurant in Greenwich Village. So they didn't get home until after midnight. Nancy said good night to Bill outside her house. Then she took her key out of her purse and opened the front door. The family were in bed and the lights were out. Nancy tried not to make any noise because she didn't want to wake them up. She took off her coat in the hall and hung it up in the closet. Then she went into the living room and turned on the light. It was very late, but Nancy didn't feel sleepy. She went into the kitchen and made a cup of tea. After that, she went back into the living room and picked up the evening paper. She tried to work out the crossword puzzle, but it was very difficult. She put down the paper and turned on the TV. There weren't any good programs, so she finally turned off the television and went upstairs to bed. The next morning, Nancy felt very tired, and she had a bad headache. She wanted to go to the office because she had an appointment with a fashion photographer. But her mother said no. Mrs. Green called up Frank Howard and said that Nancy wasn't well. Then she called the photographer and put off the appointment. Nancy stayed in bed all day, and she got over her headache.
Now, answer these questions. Who did Nancy have a date with last Wednesday evening?
She had a date with her fiancé, Bill Crawford.
Bill took Nancy home, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Which door did Nancy open?
She opened the front door.
What did she take off?
She took off her coat.
Where did she take it off?
She took it off in the hall.
Where did she hang it up?
She hung it up in the closet.
What did she turn on in the living room?
She turned on the light.
What did Nancy try to work out?
She tried to work out the crossword puzzle.
Then what did she do with the paper?
She put it down.
What did she turn on?
She turned on the TV.
Why did she finally turn off the TV?
Because there weren't any good programs.
Did she feel tired the next morning?
Yes, she did.
What did she have?
She had a bad headache.
Who put off Nancy's appointment?
Mrs. Green did.
Who did Mrs. Green call up first?
She called up Frank Howard.
Now, imagine you are Nancy's mother and ask Nancy some questions. Ask her if she had a date last night.
Did you have a date last night?
Ask her if she went to a concert at Lincoln Center.
Did you go to a concert at Lincoln Center?
Ask her if she had dinner in Greenwich Village.
Did you have dinner in Greenwich Village?
Ask her what time she got home last night.
What time did you get home last night?
Ask her if Bill brought her home.
Did Bill bring you home?
End of Lesson 7. Lesson 8. Frank Howard's Golf Shoes.
Listen to this narrative about Frank Howard.
Frank Howard, the editor of Nancy's magazine, is a very hard worker. Until recently, he didn't play any sports. He smoked 20 cigarettes a day, and he had a bad cough. Finally, he decided to give up smoking because he wanted to get rid of his cough. Then he decided to take up golf because he needed exercise. Last Friday, Frank went to a shoe store because he wanted to buy golf shoes. He saw a nice pair of golf shoes in the window. He went into the store and spoke to the sales clerk. The sales clerk took the shoes out of the window, and Frank tried them on. The shoes were comfortable, so Frank asked how much they were. The sales clerk looked up the price in the catalog. They cost $55, and Frank bought them. The next day was Saturday, and Frank went to the Dale Country Club. He put on his new golf shoes. But after a few holes, the shoes began to hurt his feet, so he had to put away his golf clubs and go home. On Monday, Frank took the shoes back to the store, but he couldn't get his money back, so he gave the shoes away and bought a new pair of shoes at a different store.
Now, answer these questions. Is Frank Howard a hard worker or a lazy one?
He's a hard worker.
Until recently, did he play any sports?
No, he didn't.
How many cigarettes did he smoke a day?
He smoked 20 cigarettes a day.
Did he have a light cough or a bad cough?
He had a bad cough.
What did he want to get rid of?
He wanted to get rid of his cough.
Why did Frank give up smoking?
Because he wanted to get rid of his cough.
Why did Frank go to a shoe store?
Because he wanted to buy golf shoes.
Where did he see a nice pair of golf shoes?
He saw a nice pair of golf shoes in the window.
How much did the shoes cost?
They cost $55.
What did Frank want to do the next day?
He wanted to play golf.
What did Frank put on?
He put on his new golf shoes.
Did he play 18 holes or only a few holes?
He played only a few holes.
The shoes began to hurt his feet, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Then what did he do?
He went home.
What did Frank give away?
He gave away the golf shoes.
Where did he buy a new pair of shoes?
He bought some at a different store.
Now, ask Frank some questions. Ask him how many cigarettes he smokes a day.
How many cigarettes do you smoke a day?
Ask him why he decided to give up smoking.
Why did you decide to give up smoking?
Ask him if he got rid of his cough.
Did you get rid of your cough?
Ask him what game he took up.
What game did you take up?
Ask him if he tried on the golf shoes.
Did you try on the golf shoes?
Ask him how he found out the price.
How did you find out the price?
Ask him why he took back the shoes.
Why did you take back the shoes?
Ask him if he got his money back.
Did you get your money back?
End of Lesson 8. Lesson 9. Nancy's fiancé Bill meets Frank and Kitty Howard.
You are going to hear how Nancy's fiancé Bill met Frank and Kitty Howard. Listen.
A few evenings ago, Bill and Nancy called on the Howards. Frank Howard is married. His wife's name is Kitty, and they have 2 small children. Nancy wanted to introduce Bill to Frank and Kitty. They arrived at the house at 8 o'clock, and Nancy rang the doorbell. Frank opened the door.
Hello, Frank. Here we are.
Well, well, come in, come in. So, you're Bill. I'm very glad to meet you.
I'm glad to meet you, Frank. Nancy told me a lot about you.
Not bad things, I hope.
Oh, no. She thinks you're a very good boss. Isn't that right, Nancy?
He's a wonderful boss. Sometimes.
You know, Bill, Nancy's a very good writer. I couldn't do without her.
Why don't we change the subject? Is Kitty in, Frank?
Yes, she's putting the children to bed. Ah, here she is now.
Hello, Kitty. This is my fiancé, Bill.
Bill, I'm delighted to meet you. Nancy told me a lot about you.
How do you do, Mrs. Howard?
Oh, don't call me Mrs. Howard. Everybody calls me Kitty.
All right, Kitty. You have a very nice house.
Thank you. Frank and I are very lucky.
Bill's an architect, you know, Kitty. That's why he likes to talk about houses.
Oh, no.
What's wrong, Nancy?
I left the pictures behind. I wanted to show them to Frank and Kitty.
Never mind, Nancy. We can see them some other time.
Well, let's eat. I made an extra big dinner tonight. Nancy, why don't you help me in the kitchen? Bill and Frank can stay here and talk for a while.
Now, answer these questions. Who did Nancy and Bill call on?
They called on the Howards.
When was that?
It was a few evenings ago.
What are the Howards' first names?
Their first names are Frank and Kitty.
Nancy wanted to introduce Bill, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Who was Frank glad to meet?
He was glad to meet Bill.
Didn't Nancy tell Bill a lot of things about Frank?
Yes, she did.
Did she tell Bill good things or bad things?
She told him good things.
Does Nancy think Frank is a good boss or a bad boss?
She thinks he's a good boss.
Nancy's a good writer, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Frank says he can't do without her, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
What did Bill call Kitty at first?
He called her Mrs. Howard.
She didn't like that, did she?
No, she didn't.
Why does Bill like to talk about houses?
Because he's an architect.
What's Frank and Kitty's house like?
It's very nice.
What kind of dinner did Kitty make?
She made an extra big dinner.
What is Nancy going to do in the kitchen?
She's going to help Kitty.
What are Frank and Bill going to do?
They're going to talk.
Now, ask some questions using names. Ask Nancy if Frank's a good boss.
Is Frank a good boss, Nancy?
Ask Frank if he can do without Nancy.
Can you do without Nancy, Frank?
Ask Kitty if she put the children to bed.
Did you put the children to bed, Kitty?
Ask Bill if he's an architect.
Are you an architect, Bill?
Ask Nancy if she left the pictures behind.
Did you leave the pictures behind, Nancy?
Ask Kitty if she made an extra big dinner.
Did you make an extra big dinner, Kitty?
End of Lesson 9. Lesson 10. Nancy and Bob Smith.
Listen to this conversation between Nancy and Bob.
Nancy is in her office. She is talking to Bob Smith. Bob Smith is a photographer. He takes photographs for the magazine.
Bob, do you have the pictures of that fashion show in Boston?
Yes, here you are. Do you like them?
Yes, they're very good. I'm going to put some of them in this article.
I didn't see you yesterday, Nancy. Where were you?
I had a bad headache. That's why I didn't come to the office.
Are you all right now?
Oh, yes. I often get headaches, but I soon get over them.
I saw Frank this morning. He looks very healthy.
That's because he gave up smoking. He took up golf too, you know.
Yes, I know. I'm going to play with him next weekend.
At the Dale Country Club, I suppose?
That's right.
Is he good at golf?
No, but he's learning. It was funny last Saturday. Frank bought a new pair of golf shoes, but they began to hurt his feet after a few holes, so he had to go home.
Poor Frank. He wasn't very happy about it, I suppose.
No, he couldn't get his money back, so he gave the shoes away and bought a new pair. Well, I'm going to have lunch. Do you want to come?
No, thanks, Bob. I have to finish this article. I can call up the cafeteria and order some coffee and sandwiches.
Okay, see you later, Nancy.
Now, answer these questions. What does Bob do?
He's a photographer.
What does he take pictures for?
He takes pictures for the magazine.
Did Bob see Nancy yesterday?
No, he didn't.
Did Nancy have a cold or a bad headache?
She had a bad headache.
Is that why she didn't come to the office?
Yes, that's why.
How is Nancy now?
She's all right.
Who did Bob see this morning?
He saw Frank.
How did Frank look?
He looked very healthy.
What did Frank take up?
He took up golf.
Is Bob going to work now?
No, he isn't.
What's he going to do?
He's going to have lunch.
Is he going to have lunch with Nancy?
No, he isn't.
What does Nancy have to finish?
She has to finish an article.
What can Nancy call up?
She can call up the cafeteria.
What can she order?
She can order some coffee and sandwiches.
Now, ask some questions using names. Ask Bob if he has the pictures.
Do you have the pictures, Bob?
Ask Nancy if she's going to put the pictures in the article.
Are you going to put the pictures in the article, Nancy?
Ask why she didn't come to the office.
Why didn't you come to the office, Nancy?
Ask Frank if that's why he took up golf.
Is that why you took up golf, Frank?
Ask Nancy if she's going to have lunch with Bob.
Are you going to have lunch with Bob, Nancy?
End of Lesson 10. Test after Lesson 10. Listen to this narrative about Sue's friend. You will hear 10 statements about the narrative. If the statement is correct or true, mark the letter T. If it is wrong or false, mark the letter F. Listen to the narrative.
Sue had a letter from a friend of hers yesterday. Her friend's name is Anne. Anne's home is in Chicago, but she's working in Boston now. She's a nurse. She takes care of sick people. Her job is very tiring, but she gets a good salary. She is always busy, so Sue sees her only 3 or 4 times a year.
Now listen to the statements and mark your answers.
Number 1.
Sue's friend's name is Anne.
Number 2.
Anne's home is in Boston.
Number 3.
Anne's working in Boston.
Number 4.
Anne's a nurse.
Number 5.
Sue takes care of sick people.
Number 6.
Anne takes care of sick people.
Number 7.
Anne's job is very interesting.
Number 8.
Anne's salary is very good.
Number 9.
Anne is always busy.
Number 10.
Sue sees Anne every week.
End of test after Lesson 10. End of Side B.